What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to Nick Talks. Usually I gotta look over there with the camera's down here this time. Whatever. So, hope everyone's doing well. Today, I wanted to get into supplementation and what I've been thinking about recently. My opinion on supplementation has always been kind of like everybody else's, where, it just seemed so much better to get any nutrition from diet, any nutrients, any micronutrients, any vitamins, minerals, just straight from diet. But I think that opinion is starting to change slowly. Now, not that I'm going to hop on the bandwagon and just be taking 30 pills, but I think regarding some particular compounds, I'm curious, to say the least. My thoughts are now changing from, I'll just get it from my diet, and if it doesn't come from my diet, then I don't really need it, to, the body processes micronutrient, any kind of nutrients, similarly, no matter what form it's in, as far as I understand. And so therefore it shouldn't be any different taking it in a pill or in a powder than eating 10 pounds of meat to get the same effects, right? So traditionally my stack has always been pretty easy. It's protein, amino acids, or BCAAs particularly, and creatine, and that's it. And I don't even know if branched chain amino acids are particularly necessary, but I take them anyway because they have a nice little caffeine boost in there, and I take it pre-workout. And also, just anecdotally, I noticed that could be just my expectation, could be a placebo effect, but it seems as though both hopping on and hopping off over time, that I do recover faster, and I'm able to maintain 7 days a week much easier with branched chain amino acid supplementation. Creatine's kind of a no-brainer. I mean, the benefits are blatantly obvious whenever you take it, and although you do get it from diet, I think that supplementation is not a bad thing, and it has benefited me tremendously. Even though my diet has always consisted of large amounts of meat, I can notice a difference when I supplement creatine. Now, although my stack has always been limited because I never want to be too far in the weeds, I've now started experimenting not only with a pump supplement taken pre-workout, and I just started taking HMB, which I didn't really do. I like to do a lot of homework before I start taking the supplement, but I figured there was a guy that I was talking to at the gym and at GNC that were kind of trying to convince me, and they didn't convince me. I did it because I was just like, fuck it, it doesn't matter, I'll try it out. But from what I can tell, although HMB seems like it has limited studies from my preliminary research, the thought is that it reduces or increases the amount of fat burn and decreases the amount of muscle lost, which is kind of a big deal for me, because it seems like, especially since I'm on 7 days a week, if I drop down to anything less than 7 days, like if I miss a workout, especially if I miss a workout and am messing up with my diet, my muscle just falls off immediately. And obviously it comes back real quick, but I would like to not have to be in the gym every single day. I want to be in the gym every single day, but sometimes you travel, sometimes things come up, sometimes you get sick, sometimes, whatever, life happens. And I don't want to be like a shell of a man just because I wasn't able to hop in the gym every single day, right? And so that was my reasoning behind starting to take HMB. I've only been taking it for about less than a week, and I don't know. I don't notice any immediate differences. I'd like to do a little bit more research on it. But what has kind of changed my thinking is primarily listening to Huberman talk about it, and then also rationalizing what could be the possible benefits. And so, I'm starting to think about it a little bit like caffeine, where I definitely don't need caffeine to exist or even be productive. However, it definitely is a nice boost. It's a nice tool in the tool belt. And so I think extending that line of thinking to all supplementation, or at least within reason supplementation, it seems like that could be the case across the board. And I'm interested to find out. And I would be willing to experiment with my body just to figure out if it's worth it. The only thing that I'm worried about is really the placebo mental connection, because I noticed that like right now, after optimizing sleep and hydration and nutrition pretty consistently, if I hop off any one of those things for any number of reasons, I feel much worse. Like I can still operate, but the detriment is so noticeable that it deters me from engaging in any activity, because I'm like, oh, I'm so out of the race here. And I don't like that. So the downside that I see with increasing supplementation and increasing the amount of compounds that I take could be just an even, a greater exacerbation of that effect. That makes me nervous. But I was talking to someone earlier, and I was thinking that, if I could create a wider range of a stack that made me hyper productive, hyperactive, hyper energized all the time, and then also increased some or included some sort of protocol that kept me in tune with my body so that I know that I'm fine without it, it could be really beneficial. So, like for example, one thing that I've been doing recently is combining nicotine, caffeine, and I guess music, but we're just talking about supplementation. I've been combining nicotine and caffeine with heavy study or heavy work periods. So like if I really got to get in the zone, I'll make a cup of coffee and I'll pop in a nicotine pouch, put my headphones on, and then I'll just jam out. And that's something that I got from Alex Hormozy. Shout out that guy. But it definitely has a difference, dude. I'm freaking logged the fuck in when I get that stuff going, and the workflow is just crazy. Now, bad side is I have this complex where every single time I start taking something or start experimenting with something, especially if it changes my state of being even a little bit, like I want to freaking pop 10 of those suckers in my mouth at a time. That's always been the case, and it is a major drawback because it reduces the acute symptoms, right? So like if I want to create major benefit of caffeine and nicotine in combination with my study time and my work time, then I don't want to be doing both of those all the time, because then it's not special, right? So some discipline is necessary there. But even though I haven't been super disciplined, the benefits are still obvious. Not only in the sense that like nicotine and caffeine both, and especially in combination, increase focus and awareness and alertness, and just attention span is locked in, as well as energy increase. But my secondary thought, the secondary mechanism that I'm hoping to be activating, is that both nicotine and caffeine, from what I understand, are somewhat dopaminergically active. So the rate of dopamine release is increased after taking these things. And so if I can only use them when I'm going to go into a particularly heavy bout of cognitive work, then hypothetically I can Pavlov my way in to pairing heavy work with heavy reward, chemical reward. And then that way, like my body will want and desire to be in that state more often. And therefore I'll have a more intrinsic reward tied to heavy work and be more incentivized to do so, is my thought. And I've only started recently experimenting with that, and I've been kind of sloppy with my implementation. Like, take the pouches way too much. I've been using the Zins 6 milligrams and using them way too much, but I've been dialing it back quite a bit to try and really hone in on the benefits for this particular activity. The other thing about caffeine that I've been thinking is that I learned recently that taking caffeine in tablet form, so just pure caffeine, instead of getting it in a vehicle like coffee or yerba. I don't drink yerba mate or anything like that, or tea or anything, but I've heard that capsule form, tablet form, pure caffeine not only lasts longer, but has an increase in the cognitive benefits over consuming coffee, right? So I would be curious to implement that, because now I have a cup of coffee and I've got like 45 minutes to a little over an hour before I start coming down. And so like that kind of limits the workflow a little bit. Whereas if I could get like 2 straight hours in especially with a very limited break, if any break at all, then it seems like that could be pretty beneficial. So I might try to start doing that pretty soon here, but just another fucking thing I gotta buy. Given that I could come up with some sort of balance between supplementation and like essentially cycle these things, I think it could be really beneficial. And some compounds that I've been learning about and looking into recently is not only the caffeine, and especially in combination with nicotine and, like I said, HMB, but also yohimbine is something that I've learned about recently. And that is, a lot of these things are going to be kind of similar, but fat loss is supposed to be a reported benefit, as well as increased libido, so some sort of boost in testosterone or perceived testosterone, and as well as Fedosia agrestis, which is all of these are like natural supplements that come from some sort of herbal remedy, and again, aphrodisiac, increases libido, increases testosterone at a natural level. And then Tongat Ali as well is another one that has similar effects. And the thing is I definitely don't suffer from low testosterone. I've got, as well as I can tell just based on my experience day to day, my levels are pretty jacked, right? I mean, they say testosterone makes effort feel good, and I definitely feel amazing pursuing effort, especially like high effort activities feel really rewarding to me. And I wake up well every morning, and I don't see like muscle growth is great, muscle detail, any benefits of testosterone seem to be well in check, and I don't suffer from any energy imbalances. However, hypothetically, if I could make that great even better, then it might be worth a shot. So then all the benefits that I have day to day would be just jacked even more through the roof without specifically augmenting hormones through actual hormones or any kind of anabolic steroids or anything like that. It could be something that would be very interesting. Something else that I just started taking an omega supplement as well. I was having some creaky joint issues, which I think stems from not only a particularly heavy workload in terms of training, like I train 7 days a week and I train heavy every single day, but also I noticed that like I do suicide grip on bench, so thumbs off, and I've got this bump on my hand now, and it just hurts right above my wrist all the time, and it seems to be it get even worse every time I bench. And then today I tried using a full grip, and no problem. And I also noticed that I've been overloading my preacher curls to like 40-50 pounds for 3 to 8-ish, and get a similar feeling, like that same spot. After I started taking this omega supplement, I definitely noticed a difference. I don't really have enough information to say that I should or should not be taking omega supplements. I definitely don't eat enough fish to get it from my diet. Kind of steer clear of fish. I had a couple bad salmon meals, and I've just been turned off of it ever since. But I would like to start looking more into omega-3s, omega-6s, and I've heard a lot of things about anti-inflammatory aspects, as well as a boost in cardiovascular health. So that seems like kind of a no-brainer, especially because it's super easy and it's pretty affordable. That's kind of what I've been thinking about. And I'm not saying that I'm going to stick with any of these things or particularly experiment with any of these things, but I'd say that my curiosity has been piqued a little bit, and I'm interested. And this is but a small section of a long list of things that are supposed to be really good in the long run. And then not even to mention probiotics, prebiotics, micronutrients like athletic greens and stuff like that, which is pretty expensive. I'm not going to get into that now, but if I could get probiotics from like fermented foods like kimchi or sauerkraut, anything like that, or Greek yogurt, then that might be worth it, considering like the research that's coming out about the gut microbiome. And any boost helps, dude. You know what I'm saying? Like I have been a chain smoking alcoholic drug addict and been a workhorse of both cognitive and physical activity, and yet now that I'm optimizing, I feel like I get so much more out of it. So like I can work either way, it doesn't matter, right? I don't need these things, but like if I can get any particular boost, then it doesn't seem obvious why I shouldn't or why I wouldn't, right? So I'm interested what you guys think. I'm gonna just stick to, I don't want to start adding a bunch of stuff to the stack right now and then you don't really know what sticks, but I'm gonna stick with caffeine and nicotine in combination for the exercise or the activities that I mentioned earlier, and then I'm gonna stick with the omega supplementation for a while, and then I'll probably hop off that when I run out, and then just see if I notice any major differences. Like, I don't notice severe joint pain, but especially my wrists. Most movements in the gym require some sort of wrist movement, right? And also, I've had issues with my shoulders in the past. They're pretty good now, but point being is that if I can have some sort of protection against any injury, that, I could stay on 7 days and then it's no problem. But I'll try and come off of it when I run out. I've got probably like 10 days left in my supply of omega, which is a GNC brand omega supplement. And then I'll go like 3 weeks without it and see how it feels, if there's any big differences. And then I'll stick with HMB until my stack or my case runs out, and then I'll see if there's any differences there. And then I think after that happens, whether I decide to keep those or not, I'm gonna try either Yohimbine or Fedosia agrestis or Tongkat Ali, or all three of them, not in combination, but slowly individually. And, because hypothetically, if I were to stack all three of those together, like take one, see how it goes, come off, take one, see how it goes, come off, take the other, see how it goes, come off, and then try combination over the course of 6 months to a year, I think that I would have a pretty clear-cut idea of if they are worth taking or not, right? And then we can kind of branch out into other things. Something else that I've been thinking about is anything along the lines of nootropics. They've always made me nervous. I'm pretty happy with the state of my mind, and I worry about them for the same reason that I used to worry about melatonin. I was always concerned that intaking any kind of melatonin would reduce healthy natural sleep, and so that if I didn't have it, it would impair my sleep levels or my sleep quality. But as far as I've heard, it seems like that's not necessarily the case. But that's still there's still apprehension there. So I'm gonna look into it and see what I think, and then I might try it out. Because if I can get some kind of crazy cerebral boost, I'm already like fucking bordering on genius level in my humble opinion. But if I could promote that to super genius levels, then hey, why the hell not, right? I could be walking around with my head like this fucking big, dude, just picking things up with my mind. That would be pretty slick, gee. So with all of these things, the big but is that practice to be in touch with the fact that I don't need it. And that kind of comes back to meditation, which I'm not sure how much I've mentioned in the past, but it has been knocking at my door for some time now, and I think that it is long overdue. Lots of people that I respect advocate heavily for meditation practices, so I think that is somewhat necessary. And even just along the lines of know thyself, and especially with benefits for visualization. I used to be a lot more into that. I used to assemble things in my mind and picture complex structures in my mind and construction, and it was very rewarding in itself. Like, I felt a lot of chemical release in my brain from being so in depth and being able to control figurative structures just within the structure of my mind, like completely eyes closed or eyes open, it doesn't matter, seeing things and how they would fit together. So meditation might be on the rise, and I think that could also be the answer that I'm looking for when it comes to a insurance policy on advanced supplementation. But that's what we got for today. So I'm curious what you guys think, and I will keep you updated with how things continue. So far, caffeine nicotine in combination has been awesome. It has been everything that I heard it to be. So test that out. And also nicotine from like pure sources. Don't smoke it, dude. It completely reduces. It doesn't reduce the effects, but it doesn't have the same effect given that it metabolizes so much quicker through the lungs, intake it so much quicker. So it's kind of like snorting a line. It's real quick and it's immediate, but also it's very fleeting. And so, like I said, I've been using pouches. There's lozenges. I've tried gum in the past. The pouches seem to be better than the gum, in my opinion. They seem to last a little bit longer, but something like that with caffeine is a pretty solid workflow stack. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know what you guys are practicing, and we'll try and figure this out together, because you never know. We could be knocking on the door of hyper intelligence just with a few herbal remedies, and I'm curious to see where that goes. So thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate each and every one of you. And with that, I will say, Nick out.